Where's the button? The Hangout on Air is live. Um, well, of course, I'm about talked out um, with the post-election blues. Uh, I did not go to work on Wednesday,
Okay.
but that's because after we got off at 10, you weren't here to the end, but we were here for like 4 hours, right?
Yeah, I saw how long the recording was.
But I couldn't go to sleep without hearing the outcome.
Okay.
And that they didn't call it until about 3 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
And then once I heard the outcome, I tossed and I turned for several hours.
Mm-hmm.
And I finally went to sleep. And then when I woke up, of course, I felt like hell. And
Yeah.
and I knew I didn't want to be at work that day um, around people, some of whom I know were, actually glad
Yeah.
about the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to call out black that day.
Yeah.
I had to get my nerves together.
Yeah.
And even when I went in on Thursday,
Mm-hmm.
um, I, I I about cut a white man with my tongue. Um, and I realized that I probably should have taken off 2 days.
Right.
Um,
Oh, no,
but
that's. Mm-hmm.
me and Venita were the ones telling y'all this could happen. This could happen. And so, in a sense, I was not shocked about it, but on the other hand, I was shocked about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know,
I pretty much yeah, I kind of thought he was gonna win. I mean, I did think he was gonna win. But I made sure that I went to bed early that night actually because I wanted to get a good night's sleep.
yeah,
And then the following day, I had two online meetings with two different groups. Open sobbing
oh wow,
were really upset.
yeah,
They were both American groups, so they're both groups with mostly Americans in them.
yeah,
Um, um, yeah, people have been really grappling with it.
devastated, devastated, yeah. So we'll have to see, you know, we'll have to see. I mean, there's been something of a move to put pressure on the Electoral College to, uh, change the outcome of the decision. So I don't know
Mm-hmm.
what the prospects are for that, but it's fun to think about. you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I saw today that she's over a million votes more in the popular vote.
yeah, it's the system. It's the system itself. It's the Electoral College itself that
Mm-hmm.
needs to go. Um, but like everything else, that's a whole big deal
Mm-hmm.
to make it go away. But hopefully, given this outcome and the fact that we've now had two times in this century when the electoral vote has been different from the popular vote. Hopefully that will motivate a groundswell of people to try to work on getting rid of it because otherwise it's just going to always be like this. You know, the West Coast and the East Coast are the most heavily populated parts of the country. And so those other parts of the country that don't have the population Um, but when you add up all their electoral votes together, they have more electoral votes than the parts of the country that have the highest population. And so when the winner takes all, and those smaller populations go for, whatever choice they go for, it has a big impact. So I hope that the movement to get them to change the decision in this instance will be successful, and that there will be a movement to abolish the Electoral College overall, because it's not fair. It's undemocratic. Georgette, you're here.
Hey, how's everybody tonight?
Well, Leonie started us on a little
sad note. Sorry.
Post-election.
Sad? No, not sadness.
Post-election decompression.
Okay. Yeah, that's going to be a long process. That's all I can say.
Absolutely.
Because every day is some more ugliness from the Trump faction.
Yes. Venita, you made it.
Oh,
trying to make it.
Uh-oh.
And where is our friend Jazzy J?
I think he's trying to make it.
Yeah.
But I think he's going to be late. So.
Okay. So how are you, Georgette?
I'm okay. I'm trying to be okay.
South Carolina, geez. I was just saying I had a hard time. I did not go to work on Wednesday because I couldn't bear the idea of being around people who were happy about the outcome of the election, even though that probably only describes a small minority of my coworkers, but they're there nonetheless. I don't know if I could. I don't think I could have been in South Carolina. Oh, Lord.
Yeah, I'm mainly just going from point A to B. No side stops.
Yeah. Yeah. No chatting with the neighbors.
Nah. I don't want to know. Don't tell me. Well, in my neighborhood, we only had one lady who had a Bernie sign. Nobody else told you who they were voting for. But that's cool.
That's true. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what Venita was saying, about her neighborhood and what indicated to her that the Republicans were going to come out of the closet at the last minute. But actually, Connecticut.
So Venita had predicted that?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's in our 4-hour video from last week.
Yeah, that was forward thinking. Yeah.
But actually,
it was intriguing to me.
Democratic. Huh?
Yeah. No, go ahead. I was listening. Yeah.
So, Venita, what's going on with you?
Nothing. I'm just here. I'm, doing the best I can to practice civility. I am going to work with you because in the practice, there are very young women there, all under the age of 25, other than the doctors. They're like 29 and 33. And I didn't want the young women. We have 3 girls that are Puerto Rican. We have 1 that's Pakistani. We have a kind of the Middleton type crew. And I didn't want them to see me in a bad way. I wasn't good for the world. The world wasn't good for me that day. So I just thought it was better that I just stay home and, be able to get myself together so I would, be able to give them some strength because they were very much affected by the outcome of the election.
Yeah. It was a blow. It was definitely a blow. Speaking of blow, I have to say I am fighting off a cold here. So if you see me sniffling or rubbing my nose, unlike our president-elect, I am not on drugs. I wish I was, but I'm not. Everybody.
Hey.
Everybody. Hey, Kim, adjust your camera a little bit so we can see more of your face, please.
That's all you get. That's all you get.
Oh, she's getting on that crazy stuff.
How are you?
I am so tired. I went to a demonstration this evening and it's too much.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. Lots and lots going on. I am sure for the duration.
Ladies, I'm gonna switch because my cell phone, of course, is not charged. So I'm gonna use my husband's cell phone to call in. So I'm gonna hang up and I'm coming right back in, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
So wow. So Joelle may still come. So okay.
Did you hear today, ladies, that Mr. Ben Carson, and I do use the word Mr. very lightly, said that I'm sorry, I'm trying, I gotta stop. My ways are getting real bad.
That was civil. That was civil. Go ahead.
I didn't hear it. I've had the news off today. What happened?
Well, he said that he will not be accepting any appointments from Donald Trump. But I'm like, you're late. You're late. Why not just go ahead and accept, sweeping the floors or taking out the garbage or whatever because you're a fabulous man, an intelligent man. You had your own achievements, huge achievements in your own right, not just the best black neuro. No, you are among the best neurosurgeons in the world. And I assume the only reason why he decided that he would not accept an appointment after you coon, blackface, green face, bow down is because probably either his community and or the pressure from the people. He decided that, well, this might not be a good idea. And I'm like, Mr. Carson, you're late. You're late.
Wow.
So I just thought it was, I don't know whether he thought everyone should be elated or what the thought was, but maybe I'm just different in that way. But I'm not elated. It's too late. I can't unknow what I know. You showed your face. So you just want to take that janitorial job and call it a day.
He's going to leave Omarosa all by herself.
All by herself.
Well, I do have to say, what was it? I think it was 8% of Black people voted for Donald.
Yes.
So I have to say I'm really very proud about the other 92% who did not vote for Donald.
Michelle, I want to have some anger a little bit. Please don't show me the black side.
You are welcome to your anger. You are welcome to your anger. I'm just saying, I want to shine a light on the 92% who did not vote for Donald, and the 8% that are thinking whatever it is they're thinking. God bless them.
Thank you for spoiling my moment with your positiveness.
Well, thank you for bringing the negative point of view.
You're very welcome. Thank you, ladies. I'm glad I brought that to you this evening.
That is okay. Nicole, we may as well go in and get started at 6:45.
Okay. And just to close the political discussion, which of course I think tonight we'll reopen. But I was shocked getting on Facebook and seeing, people I graduated from high school with, outraged. They're like, Texas, what are you all doing? As if Texas hasn't been a rich forever and a day, right? So I thought, what bubble have you all been living in? Like, we know what's happening here in Texas, but I am happy that at least my area, Harris County, we have a hashtag, Harris County Blue, because we were able to train Black women coming in and being, we have a sheriff now, Black woman, and so some positions of leadership. But but technology remains the same. But
Coonology?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Did you call it coonology?
No, I said the mythology.
Oh.
Michelle, you make up words.
On a positive note.
Yeah.
Coonology. Oh
my husband, I'm in mourning, and so it's just this mythology of these. I think about what Venita said before we released the line last week, and Venita said these half-assed united. I think you said, Venita, and that's, it's just this myth, this mythology that we are constantly subjected to. It just continues to replicate. So yeah, that's what I'm. But okay, but good. It's afternoon for me, but evening for you all. Good evening, everyone. My name is Nicole Wilson, and this is Question 7. Today is November 15th, and we are looking at post-traumatic slave syndrome, Chapter 5, focusing on slavery children. Let's start by just kind of introducing everyone. Let's start with our host, our gracious host.
Michelle, you rolling away. Roll back.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He's our gracious host.
Who are you starting with?
The hostess with the here she is. All right, we'll start.
I was thinking about the book. Hello, everybody. I'm Michelle Odom, and I am located in Brooklyn, New York. And this is the version of the book that I am reading by Dr. Joy DeGruy, Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, America's Legacy of Enduring Injury and Healing. Well, we have just been injured once again. So let's get to some healing quick, fast, in a hurry.
Oh, Lord. Have mercy. Would you like me to keep the time, Nicole?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay.
All right. Venita, yes, ma'am. Will you introduce yourself?
Good evening. My name is Venita Walker. I'm joining you from Cromwell, Connecticut. Welcome.
Welcome.
And Georgette.
Hi. Am I muted? Okay. Hi, my name is Georgette Moses. I'm coming to you from Columbia, South Carolina. Hello, everybody. Good to see you.
Hello.
Well, Joe's not here yet, but Kim is. Hi, Kim. Can you introduce yourself?
I am Kim, and I'm from New York. Hi, everybody.
Hey.
Hey. Cheer up, Kim. The world didn't come to an end.
Will's not here yet, and just Bill. So we'll go ahead and go to Leonie.
Hello, everyone. I'm Leonie, and I'm joining you from Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
Where we are all headed.
As soon as that website comes back up.
And I don't know if I said where I'm from, but Nicole Wilson again from Houston, Texas. I don't remember. All right, so we'll start with the reading, and I'm not going to even butcher this. I'm just going to ask, and how are the children?
Well, oh, not so good right now. But hopefully things will get better.
I agree. I agree. Anyone else? How are the children?
They're learning French.
What did you say, Georgette?
I said they're learning French.
I know that's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
After reading tonight's chapter, I think a lot of that question depends on the parents, and I imagine many of the parents are in distress.
Yeah.
So the children are going to be in distress.
Yes. Yes.
Well, I think, as Nicole told us last week about one of her children coming home and asking whether they, who was it, your daughter or your son, Nicole?
Yeah, my daughter.
Your daughter?
Mm-hmm.
Who
They're
said
the my girls. Yeah.
are they going to have to move back to Africa? I think there are a lot of children, a lot of Black children right now that really don't understand, don't have a perspective on what just happened in the election of Donald Trump. And it's going to be hard for them for a while because just as we were talking about a few minutes ago, the adults, are still reeling from what happened. Even those like myself and Venita, who thought there was a possibility that could happen. It was still a very jarring, shocking, painful outcome. And so how you come out of that mode to comfort the children, is really challenging. But I do think it's important that we keep in mind that, that having a Black president was the aberration. And so young children have only grown up under Barack and Michelle Obama. And as we talked about last week, that was an extremely positive image for Black children to have. But in the arc of American history, it was an aberration. Our experience has been under old white men. And so Donald falls within that model. And we have survived all of them. And we will survive Donald, I am sure. So, I think that's a part of the message. Perhaps not so bluntly, as you all know I am, but part of the message that our children need to hear.
Absolutely, I agree. Hey, so the moderator for next week will be Kim Brandon, and our timekeeper, Joel. And just reviewing the community rules, mute the mic into sound.
I can't hear you.
Discussion. Key points of discussion.
Yeah, it's getting harder and harder to hear you though, Nicole.
Is that better?
That's better.
A lot better, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. I have my phone here. Okay. So let me just say, like, beyond my technical difficulties this week, just and just kind of the morning, I must admit, and I've even, I've just morning. But what struck me in reading this chapter was the way in which DeGruy takes her.
I can't hear you.
You're fading out again.
Am I fading out? Okay, let me stay closer.
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, so the symbolism of her father, its repetition, the African American rhetorical traditions there, call response, and so forth, and just kind of, bearing witness, the notion of bearing witness. So I started the summary. Can you all hear me?
Mm-hmm. Kind of, but I want somebody else to read the summary because you keep going in and out.
Oh, I'm in and out. Okay.
I'd be happy to read summary.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Okay.
It is interesting that Joy DeGruy's Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, America's Legacy of Enduring Injury and Healing, sparks intertextual dialogue with seminal texts by esteemed critical theorists like critical race feminist Hortense Spillers, Sylvia Wynter, and Patricia J. Williams, to name a few, whose works center Blackness and speaks of, as M. Norbse Phillips says, the story that cannot but must be told. This is very telling at the beginning of chapter 5, as the chapter begins with an anecdote in which the author introduces the reader to her father. In the father's testimony, the reader bears witness to the embodiment of the residue of slavery, pain, anger, feelings of defeat, continual disrespect, and the denial of the rights of citizenship. While DeGruy labels this PTSS, Patricia J. Williams explains it as spirit murder. Williams says that Black Americans undergo daily assaults that lead to soul murders, and American institutions are guilty as charged. Still, after completing the chapter, it becomes increasingly clear to the reader why DeGruy's father's repetition, "I did it for you, Joy," undergirds the author's argument in chapter 5 and assists her in constructing a powerful call to action. Not only does his repetition blur the lines between the personal and the political, and beautifully conveys the dynamism of African American rhetorical tradition, but it successfully evidences why we, slavery's children, must not faint. Slavery's children must push through, for, as diasporic subjects, there are many utterances that we've yet to decipher. It is clear after reading this chapter that we focused on reclaiming the body, but must also reclaim the flesh.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm afraid to speak. I don't know if you all can hear me.
Yeah, we do. It's just it's a little choppy.
Okay. Can you hear me now, though?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a tinny, almost like you don't have. Do you have subways in Houston? No. Okay, I'm thinking of like sitting on the subway and somebody has on earphones and the music must be blasting in their ear, but what flows out to the rest of us is this tinny kind of.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's like the bass is missing, but some kind of way when you move closer or something, it comes in stronger. So I don't know, but it's
Maybe the volume comes in stronger, or
the bass.
Oh, the bass. Okay, my goodness, this is so sad.
Yeah.
I'm gonna invest in a new computer tonight.
Good.
It's sad. Okay. Well, I'm just gonna try to talk louder.
Okay. I mean, okay. We'll see.
All right. Okay. Can anyone take number 1 for us, please? Thank you so much, Leonie, for reading that. Thank you.
No problem.
Number 1, Mother, Father, God, Mother or Father, Africa. 1, at the beginning of the chapter, DeGruy introduces the reader to her father. This is significant because it is almost a refusal to center Black womanhood, femininity, without centering Black masculinity. In other words, DeGruy clearly seeks to humanize her father and by extension black males. She says, "My father was not unusual for a black man." What do you make of this?
Well, I got to take issue with you on that question, Nicole. um, because because it reminded me that when we first started reading this book, and I said we were going to scrap the section on find the feminism and maybe try to do a section called nurturing self-esteem, which we've never had the time to actually do. But I said it because this is clearly not a feminist text.
Yes.
And I don't even know if Dr. DeGruy would wear the feminist label. I imagine she does, but I imagine any woman would be willing to take the feminist label. And yet we are living in an era when more than 50%, I think it is, of the white women who voted in this past election voted for Donald Trump. They probably would not take the label of feminist. And so what I think about her centering her father, a black man, in this text is that everything that happens to us is not a result of our gender, and we were not snatched out of Africa and put into those slave ships and brought over here and worked like beasts of burden because of our gender. And everything that happens to us is not because of our blackness. And so, that's why we finally have this concept of intersectionality. But look how long it took to even come up with a word to describe the different things that happen to us based on different aspects of our being. And so I think it is difficult, if not impossible, to talk about every single aspect of our being in every conversation. And that because humans are just not that skilled. And or maybe I don't know if it's a matter of skill. Maybe as all of this language becomes more familiar and comfortable to us, we will be able to talk about all of the intersections in every conversation. But I don't think we're there. And so of necessity, we focus on a particular aspect at any given point in time. And so, I mean, you're married to a black man, you have a black male child, you understand that that not all black people are women. And so if her mother had made this comment to her, then I think we'd be hearing about, what her mother said. But even then, her mother wouldn't have necessarily been saying it out of her gender, but out of her experience as a black person. So that's what I make of that.
Okay. I guess what I saw there was clearly the father discussing masculinity, or let me say this, the ways in which he had, going from the macro to the micro, he had been emasculated. And definitely, I think at least the way I read that, was what resonated with me when he continued to say, "Oh, I did it for you, Joy. I did it for you, Joy." Was that he wanted, or an expression of what was beneath the surface that could have come out at any time, this response to kind of meet that, whites trying to delegitimize him. And so I guess that's probably what I was looking at. But I do think it was very intentional. I think she could have used a lot of anecdotes. Hell, I think she could have used some anecdotes from her own life. To me, it was just, I guess I was just kind of stuck on, I thought it was just purposeful and very, I don't know, it was just a moment for me, just to, as she's recounting that. Not that I haven't heard anything like that before, certainly. But I do think that was, purposeful for her to allow her father to speak in her text. I think, that's what I was looking at. But yeah, but I like your, that analysis as well. It does give something, to think about. That perhaps it's just what it is, with how she started the text. Anyone else weigh in on that, or any thoughts on that? No. Okay.
Well, I guess I just have to say that when I read it, it just felt very familiar, because this is what you hear from your elders and their parents about why they took what they took, not merely for survival, but survival of their lineage. They set an example. I didn't want to take it, but I had to, because I was thinking about you and where you would be if something happened to me, because I decided I wasn't taking it anymore. So I thought it was very, on many levels, on the surface level, just what it said, just what he said, not to make her feel guilty about anything, but to reinforce that you'll have to do this as a parent too. So remember, we've got to take a lot of shit, okay? But we will outlast it. So yeah, I thought it was very special and familiar.
Wow.
And taking that shit is a survival skill.
Yes.
So he was passing on the skill.
Yes.
Passing on a skill set, that makes sense. But I guess what I'm beginning to see, and when I mentioned like utterances, I've been reading a lot of Saidiya Hartman, and oh my God, she's like my literary lit critic bae. I love her. I've got to meet her someday soon. But I've been reading a lot of Saidiya Hartman, and she talks about those utterances that are not necessarily decipherable. And I started thinking about, as Gio and I have both, we've all noted, even Michelle, that this is something, it's not out of the ordinary, it's something that we hear, but then it's something that we need to hear. I'm of that mindset that I don't care how many times I've heard this elder story or that elder story. I need to hear those utterances from these elders. I need to hear, and we need to hear their stories. And I think that's what I was kind of getting at. That, we kind of have this idea of kind of, that broad stroke that, we've heard it before. We already, we know the same song. But I'm just thinking, I'm beginning to feel like, but those stories need to be told. Those narratives have to be shared. We have to know, and I don't care how much we can parse those similarities, but they need to. I guess it's kind of like a bearing witness. I guess that's the best word. Those are the best words.
Absolutely, but we're kind of the generation that is really learning how to do that. Another survival skill is to not not focus on what happened in the past. Keep your eyes on the prize, kind of a thing. And, not to mention the shame and, all of that, I think is another piece of what DeGruy's father was expressing. The shame of having allowed yourself to be belittled or dehumanized, even if there was a good reason, even if it was for your survival, even if it was for your future. It still is very personally painful. It's shit.
Yeah.
And so it ain't something you want to talk about. Especially to your children who, one, you're trying to, maintain this image of mastery for their benefit. Two, you're trying to, give them hope that they can be whatever it is they want to be. And that's what was so powerful about having a Black president. And that's why it's so difficult now for our children to have to see how we snap back from Barack into this, madness, because you're trying to help your children have hope in the future. And so how much do you really want to tell them about how ugly things have been, and expect them to still get up and put one foot in front of the other? And so it's difficult. I'm a tell it like it is, lay it all on the line. My child is so busy running from me. It ain't even funny, because he knows if he talks to me, he's gonna get the truth, and he ain't trying to hear it. So, I think it's a very delicate issue. Yes, we need to hear those stories, but I think we also need to be compassionate for why it has been so difficult for Black people. I mean, we have all kinds of like little cultural, or as DeGruy talks about in this book, things that we have developed that leave us with strengths, and things that we have developed that leave us with weaknesses. And so, the thing about keeping your dirty laundry to yourself, is one of those kinds of things. So.
Absolutely.
I can't hear you.
Oh, can you hear? Oh gosh, this is so. Can you all
We were doing better with you on your other phone. How come you?
Yeah.
Phones?
I no, my other phone, that it's not charged. That's the problem. Yeah, this is crazy. Oh gosh, I feel like the guy on the commercial. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Let me try to talk louder. Well, okay, so for number 3, I want to skip to question 3. I was thinking about, as I'm reading this chapter and, kind of dealing with the father, the male, the masculinity, the way in which, I read, my reading of this was how she centers like Black masculinity in this chapter. So I started thinking about, images, signs, symbolism, and daddy lessons, Beyonce's song. And I don't know if you all have ever heard that song, but it has this very regional context, and even in the beginning, Beyonce uses the repetition. She says Texas like 3 or 4 times. And And then she talks about her father, or, you know, blurring the lines, this person in the fictional father, I'm not sure, but calling the daughter to take arms. You know, Daddy said, when men like me come around, to shoot. And then to take that idea and think about Beyonce disrupting and bringing this kind of coloring the Country Music Awards. And so I was just kind of reflecting on that, the semiotics, symbolism there. I was just thinking, like, what we think about the song, the Daddy Lessons. And I guess when I went to see Beyonce in concert, September, her father was actually in the audience. It's so interesting when she performed that song. It was very interesting. But I was just thinking about Daddy Lessons and just wondering if anybody had one that you care to share, or grandfather, a lesson, something that's just, you know, kind of stayed with you.
Nicole, I posted the song today, but for those of us that don't really know the song, could you maybe describe a little bit more about what it's about?
Yeah, when Beyonce's visual album dropped, remember it was kind of like this eerie weekend. Prince had passed away, but she had already, you know, the marketing campaign was on, that she was dropping this new album, and no one knew it was going to be, you know, a visual album. And so it was this eerie weekend. We were mourning Prince, and then Beyonce comes through on, and HBO aired this visual album. And Black Twitter went, I mean, in flames. They were just saying, like, okay, now predicting, like, now she's creating country music, and we can clearly see her at the CMAs. And, you know, they were making jokes about it. And sure enough, you know, she performed at CMAs. But in this song, essentially Beyonce saying, I guess the father's passing away, and the father has expressed to her, I would presume she's the oldest daughter, because she's saying, take care of your mother and your sister. But the father is this very interesting figure, because the father clearly says, you know, when trouble comes around, when trouble comes to town and men like me come around, and she said, well, oh, but my daddy said shoot. And so many people talked about this and protecting, you know, the Second Amendment, and it's very interesting. Again, this regional context, Texas, the Zydeco roots, Louisiana. We know after Hurricane Katrina, we got a lot of our cousins, friends, so forth, our kinship, if you will. Talk about diaspora and migrating, but from Louisiana to Texas. So, but the song is just, in my opinion, it's beautiful, it's powerful, and it's a celebration of a flawed father, a father who is imperfect but worthy of being celebrated. And so
this black father is telling his black daughter to shoot a black man if he comes around, acting like him.
As a black man, because you know that's interesting, Michelle. That's really interesting. I never took it as a black man. That he's saying, I took it as a flawed man, or a man who will prey, you know, on a woman. I didn't.
Is her daddy black?
Yeah, her daddy's black, but I thought he meant in character. When men like me come around, men who want to raise hell. That's interesting. I never thought, you know, I never saw it as her saying a black man comes around. That's really interesting. I'm writing that down. That's interesting. I've heard that song like, you know, many times, and I never thought about that. And I need to go back and.
Wow. That's the first thing I thought about when I listened to it today, because I really have not listened. I've heard it, like, you know, when it first came out, but I have not absorbed myself with that album since we you know, we did Leonie, we did a special session when Beyonce came out with Lemonade, and we focused our discussion on
Okay.
what's that formation, which we were reading When and Where I Enter by Paul Giddings at the time, and we were on a chapter that was talking about what mistresses and capitalism, and I don't know, but I saw some kind of connection between what we were reading and what was being expressed in the song Formation. And so I kind of OD'd on Lemonade at that time, and I really haven't heard it much since then, Nicole. So I had to actually listen to Daddy Lessons today.
Right.
And that's the first thing that it sounded like to me.
Okay, I can see that though. Because I could see it as, I thought it was twofold: the lover as well as some crazy, hell-raising somebody who's not, gonna be respectful, whomever that man is, You can. But yeah, okay, that's really interesting. I like that. I'm gonna go back to that, and I'm gonna go to my friends and say, we never had conversations about that. But yeah, does anyone have like any, just a daddy lesson that you could put out there and share with us, or grandfather? That is interesting. Silence.
Well, I don't have anything. I have to say that in my I don't know if it's a West Indian thing. Men are not that important. Wow. I mean, they really are not. In my family, they're not really around. My mother's father died when she was very young. So this is my, I never met my grandmother. My grandmother and grandfather, had 4 children together, were together for many decades. They were never married. My dad left early. So, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting because I've had that conversation as well. I remember with an Aboriginal woman that I used to work with in a book club setting, where it's like culturally, yeah, men don't that daddy role is not really like a thing that we grew up with or that we've seen. Very strong matriarchal societies in the West Indies, and particularly I could speak in Jamaica in particular, and I do tie that back to slavery, and the particular West Indian version of slavery, which had a very high mortality rate on top of the usual family divisions that was seen in America. I mean, the biggest issue with with Black people surviving in terms of slavery in the Caribbean was just surviving, because they were just dropping like crazy, like very, very high mortality rate compared to the US. So,
wow.
So, yeah. Don't have any daddy or grandfather stories, but this is why. it is definitely tied to slavery, but definitely tied to the some of the unique aspects of slavery in the Caribbean. At least my understanding. I read an excellent book. I don't know if I've mentioned it before. It's called A Tale of Two Plantations, and it's a 40-year. It took 40 years to put together. It's a microhistory comparing 2 plantations, one in Jamaica and one in Virginia. And it's fascinating how different and yet also how similar the experience of slavery would have been.
Mm.
You did mention it before because I remember I looked it up and put it in my database of books. So,
Mhm.
yeah, well,
It amazes me to say that, Leonie, because my husband is from Jamaica.
Mm.
Hmm. And I've had that experience in observing his mother and his grandmother. Women are not important because basically they're not there.
Mhm.
The women do all the work. When I say all the work, I mean all the work. They provide for the family. They take care of the young'uns. They take care of their children's young'uns. The young'uns take care of the next set of young'uns. And no, I don't see not even a glimpse of a man.
Mhm.
Nor do
well, how did the women get pregnant?
well,
Well, that's what men are for. To be honest, women and men come together to have children. Women raise the children.
And another thing I found too is that even then, a lot of them aren't married. They may be together at some point. They never marry. And also too that you may have 30, 40 sisters and brothers around the island. That that's my husband's. I've seen that that side. And, yeah, and they're not married to any of the women, and it's almost like it's acceptable. And then the women take care of everything else.
Yeah,
that's what I've seen from being married to a man from Jamaica for 30-something years. So, and I found that true with my father coming from the southern states. During his time, men weren't important. And I found that they were not important. I found among my aunts, my grandmother had 12 of them. She was the eldest, and she had 10 sisters under her, or 9 sisters under her, not 10, and one brother, he was the youngest. And when I used to go down there, being a city girl from Philadelphia, it was like the farm, the horses, I was all excited, the gardens, and I mean, this is wonderful. All the women, even the ones that did have a husband, or I don't know, I thought they was their husband. I'm talking about, I'm 8, 9, 10 years old. They look like husbands to me. They were there in the morning, As I got older, I noticed that it was there, all my grandmother's sisters had their ranches or their homes, and they had total ownership of those ranches and homes. It's like the men were just there for decoration. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm very serious. So that's what I'm saying. It's not just a Caribbean thing. My father's 89 years old and an educated man. No, I saw that in the southern states. Men were not important or necessary. I don't know.
Well,
that was my side. I'm talking about specifically looking at my specific family, my father's specific family, and what I saw and I know to be true. My truth of only what I saw. Women own their own homes, even if the husband, even the assumption the husband's there, it was a husband, because I had cousins, and things. But even the husband's there, they owned everything. They had the deeds. The men worked. I assume he went out, but they had deeds and they had ownership. So I guess that goes back to a lot.
I can only speak to what it is that I know in my family, and I know that part of the thing that could have influenced that is the fact that men have died early in my family, and so therefore there's always women left with children to raise, and so that's always been the case. And I think it would be, now I'm actually really curious. I think it would be, because my understanding of a lot of kind of Aboriginal culture is that men and women live very separate lives. And so the understanding of family is really more about community. And so I just know from my own experience, it's very much led by women. When my grandmother died, she had there's 4 children. My mom was one of 4, 2 boys and 2 girls. The boys got nothing. Everything was split between the 2 girls because The understanding is you're men, so take care of yourself. So, yeah. And I think also, too, it's hard to say, just like we are trying to learn through reading this book, what the impact has been on, what the impact of slavery has been on understanding Blackness as it's been defined through slavery. It's also hard to speak to what the impact of our understanding and the evaluations and judgments that we make about family look like, or the roles of men, or even the place of marriage. I mean, all of these things, who knows how old marriage is? It probably is not that old as a concept. So, you know, we come from like, you know, like this Judeo-Christian background, which has this idea of kind of one man and woman. Most of the world does not live like that at all. So it's interesting. I just know that within my culture, you have some people who are very traditional because it comes from, again, that same colonial influence. But then I would say that you have probably more or a lot of people who, you know, go off their own traditions. And that in my mind has been strongly influenced by the way that slavery was constructed in the Caribbean islands. So it's not that men are not important, it's just that they're not important in certainly the Western understanding of the roles of men and women. I very much come from a culture where women just kind of get on with things. Women do the work. They are the strong ones. They're the ones that figure things out. And in that kind of culture, men would obviously have a different role because they're not seen as half of a partnership or the sole provider. I probably went way over my time, sorry.
I'm learning a lot of things.
We were just fascinated by that.
Yes.
How did the men feel about it, though? That's what I want to know.
Right, I was really hoping.
Have you ever run into an unhappy Jamaican man? Because I haven't met one in my entire life.
No, they seem real happy.
Easy going.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
That's it.
you know, I bill myself as the quintessential daddy's girl. So it looks like I don't have any competition on this panel. But you know, it does. It's why I have like cognitive dissonance, or I can't understand most of the world, because I did have a strong father who was a Black man. He came from a 2-parent household. He had a strong father and a strong mother. He had a strong brother who also had his nuclear family. And my father was, you know, I do realize that I lucked out in the daddy department. And that's all it was, I'm sure, was just luck, because I really didn't know a lot of people as I was growing up that had a comparable situation. But nevertheless, the people that my father hung out with also appeared to be like him. And, you know, he was well educated, he was employed, he was strong and gentle. You know, and so probably the biggest lesson that I got from my daddy was that men can be intelligent and loving and important factors in the family. And so as an adult, I have not seen a whole lot of that. There has been no man that has come into my life and wanted to play that kind of a role. And so, so I know the other side of it as well. But as a child growing up, those are the kinds of things that I was seeing. And, and so I believed that, there was a lot of it out there. And so my adulthood has been a process of learning, not so much.
Would you like to have more time, Michelle?
No, but am I the only one that you're timing tonight?
I'm timing everyone. You're long-winded, but when we're trying, it's okay. I'm just asking.
No, I'm done.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. Well, I let me be transparent. I do have to explain why I asked this question, which delves right into number 6, which would lead us into number 6. So, post, election result, I'm not proud of it, ladies, but I found myself in Facebook battles, Twitter wars, and media battles. I guess, I would have to say I'm the traditional third wave feminist, but intersectional feminism is going to be, of course, in a liberatory feminist framework, but I digress there. But I was battling with these men and, and finally I had to take a step back because I would have these battles and then my husband and I would talk and then I'd go back and have these battles and we would talk. And, sometimes, the men were saying things like, oh, you just got daddy issues. And so, I just bump them off and be like, oh, Tiff, you just, so I just found ways to, it's all the African-American rhetorical tradition of shooting the dozens or whatever we want to call it, one-upping each other. But I have to admit that my 38-year-old self engaged in that type of interaction. I'm really not proud of it in hindsight. But those men kept trying to allude to this notion that I have daddy problems or daddy issues. And so kind of back to that, reading this chapter and so forth. And they didn't say, oh, this is post-traumatic slave syndrome. Of course, I'm being, just there, but they were just like, oh, you got daddy issues and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm sitting with that.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me want to dive right into number 6, in which I asked, finally, how did election 2016 exploit or reveal the gender divide as it relates to Leary's children? Because, and I just want to go first and piggyback. May I have more time, Venita? I know I'm.
You got 26 seconds left, and then I'll give you more time.
Okay, thank you. So I just want to be transparent. I'm just going to tell her I've already confessed my sin, and but just the fact that, let me tell you, ladies, what I was doing. I knew that I had a weapon that would really hurt Black men. Now, don't get me wrong. I called out on my page, my Facebook page, I called out first white liberal feminists, and I likened them to those, the juror B37 from the George Zimmerman trial.
Yes.
And I hear, a word, right? I said, these old white neoliberal feminists, and I didn't hear a word. And then I started killing, Can you hear me?
Now I can.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what I was saying was I called out the white neoliberal feminists first. And then I called out Black men, the 13% that supposedly voted for Donald Trump. And I was like, you know, stay the hell away from me and mine, and I want you to go to hell for the next 4 years.
Oh no. You just waved that red flag out there.
Yeah, all these black men, you know, whom I felt, you know, I was Facebook friends with, they started coming to my page, and I was like, hold up. You know,
I saw that post. I loved it.
Me and Michelle talked about that post. We liked it a lot.
You know, they were coming for me, and then they love to use the term feminist like it's this, like, harkening back to what you said, Michelle. Like it's this weird, this nasty, you know, Donald Trump's nasty woman. It's nasty lady.
Mm-hmm.
But what I am trying to get these men to understand is that feminist is such a broad label, and that we are, even if we consider, first and foremost, as Michelle said, we're not all claiming to be feminists. Initially, I claimed to be a womanist. That's where I saw, you know, my politics. But having said that, we're not all practicing the same type of feminism. You have the materialist feminists and the neoliberal and the intersectional and so forth and so on. And then you have these different waves, and, you know, and so that's what I was trying to get. But I must admit, regarding the gender divide, I did find out, and I knew, one of my Facebook friends, black male, did vote for Donald Trump, and he loved to say, oh, you know, a skirt would never lead this country, and so forth. And I have, you know, this one weapon that I was throwing at him. Also, Dr. Boyce Watkins' page, I kind of, you know, had a little tangle, a little issue there as well.
Oh my goodness.
You took a
Sadly, it's one thing that I know I can say that hurts black men, and I just found myself using it. And I said, you know, you all will side with and vote for that racist, sexist bigot, but then when those white men, those sexist, racist white men get in positions of power, they'll take a black woman like me and put me in a position of authority over you, and I will lead you.
Ouch!
Ouch, right? And first time I used it, I must have used it about 3 times, Lord. One for the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. So after
I can't hear you. I can't hear you. I'm missing stuff.
Oh, okay. Did you hear me when I said, like, I threw out this one, you know, this one smoking gun that I know I have. Type of black men, I just tell them, you know, that racist, sexist white men like Donald Trump, they get, when they, you know, their businesses or whatever, they will put a black woman like me in a position of power and give me the authority to lead that black man. I mean, and, you know, it's just, I was calling them out. However, after I did that about 3 to 4 times, I felt badly. I had to reflect. And, you know, I didn't want to be that way. And it just caused me to start thinking about that gender divide, you know, and then DeGruy talks about the black female male relationships. So I'm just, for me, that's what kind of happened election 2016 that let me kind of go back into that fragmented relationship between black men and black women. I'm wondering, what takeaways, what did you all note? I mean, considering the section on black female male relationships, what did you all note?
Well, for me, it was not shocking, but it was I thought exemplary that so many white women voted for Donald Trump, and it was another example for me that for white women, race has always trumped gender. And so prior to the election, I think I was telling you all last week that that I lost a Facebook friend because my strategy, I used to get in those kinds of social media wars, Nicole, and I was in my 50s. So I'm not trying to chastise you. I know how easily we can be baited. But I am more inclined these days to just go on and defriend a person when they project that kind of negativity on my page. And so I had to defriend someone who has been a very good Facebook friend. I think I told you all about it last week. I have enjoyed his company, but he has this belief that women in my age group, the only reason that we embraced feminism is because white women told us to.
Wow.
And I find that highly offensive and dismissive to the legitimate concerns that women have and that Black women have. And so for you to blanket all Black women as just too stupid to think for ourselves is offensive to me, and I don't want to be around that kind of energy, and I don't want to be in those arguments and discussions with someone who, for whatever reasons, believes what he believes, and and I know that I'm not going to change his mind. But so, as I said, it was not shocking, but it was yet another example for me in this election when so many white women, educated white women, middle class white women, voted for Donald Trump despite all of the anti-women rhetoric that Trump has put out there. But that's where we are.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And I think, you all hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
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 I think there's a larger conversation we have to have about those ways in which women uphold patriarchy. As an educator, my tone, it's, I don't think I'm authoritative. I'm not going to take nobody's shit in my classroom either. So, you've got to follow. I'm just, you've got to follow the rules. But I duly note that some of the things I will not accept, my male counterparts won't accept as well. But I'll get feedback. And sometimes it's even women, this idea, this notion that I need to be, whether, like, judging my effectiveness in the classroom and whether I was nice or not. Like I have to be so kind and sweet. That's the word. Sweet and so forth. I think we do have to have a conversation as women on those ways in which we still cater to and uphold patriarchy. And as Black women and Black people in general, I think we have to have a conversation about as Christianity, patriarchy, in some of these issues that the persistent issues.
And I think also that for a lot of Black men, gender trumps race for them.
For sure.
And so, so we see that. I mean, for me, and I'm sure I've said this somewhere previously, but for me, feminism is a simple matter of equality. And so, you can talk about the different waves, and you can talk about the the different angles and all of that. But for me, it comes down to a simple matter of equality. And so I remember when Alice Walker came out with